Welcome to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue heard exclusively on MalcolmPresents.com. I'm Malcolm Berman, and this is my co-host, Deborah Manning. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning, good afternoon here. It's 3 o'clock here in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Deborah Manning, a former Californian, native Californian. Moved to Greenville, South Carolina about five and a half years ago. Heavens to Betsy, I'm coming up on my 6th anniversary here.
Wow.
So at any rate, so anything in the news kind of catch your attention, Malcolm?
Yeah, the weather.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about the weather in a couple of minutes here. I just watched, because I'm an ex-news reporter. I was out of Los Angeles, also worked for PBS and National Public Radio down in San Diego area when it was fair and balanced, to be very honest with you, as not at this point right now that it is not. So I watched the Biden press conference, the second one. At least we saw Vice President Harris there and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken there, as well as our defense director. Did you get a chance to watch the press conference at all?
I didn't see the beginning. I saw the end of it when he was answering questions.
Ah, okay.
Well, how did the first half go?
Rather than having a conversation with me, I would be kind of curious, because we don't need to rehash everything that took place, since I've been watching the news as an ex-news reporter since the whole situation took place, with the thousands of people screaming to get into the airport to get on the transport planes as we gave up Afghanistan to the Taliban. And I must admit, I was rather emotional about seeing it. Innocents like that trying to escape the terror of the Taliban. They're barbarians. We already know that. But let me ask you a question. How does this square with your vote for President Biden and Vice President Harris? Is this the way you would like to see things?
Not the way I like to see things. I think he made a mistake on how he got out, but getting out was preordained. I mean, it's not that all of a sudden he gave it to the Taliban. This was preordained, and with Trump, I think reduced our troop strength from 13,000 to 2,500.
And the 2,500, just to make sure, the 2,500 were in fact maintaining the peace at that particular juncture. So in fact, peace was being maintained.
Right, but part of that, I keep on switching screens. Part of that agreement was that they I'm not sure where the hell I am now. Part of that agreement was that the U.S. would pull out by I think it was I don't think it was beginning of September. I think it was sometime in August.
It was by May. I think that by going back and blaming President Trump, former President Trump, for all of this.
No, I'm not blaming. I'm saying that the situation.
Let's just be very clear that President Biden threw out every last one of Trump's agreements, whether it be for oil drilling on the Keystone Pipeline.
I'm not talking about anything. Yeah, throwing it out.
And you want us to believe the fact that he kept this one agreement with the Taliban? That's beyond logical thinking.
No, the logical thinking is that he's not dealing alone. When he did away with a lot of the regulations that the Trump threw out, was basically Trump signed a presidential document saying, okay, this is it, with a lot of the rules and regulations.
But for the President Biden to be blaming President Trump for all of this is absolutely absurd. And I must say, excuse me for interrupting you, yeah. I am completely, utterly insulted by this. Now, I want to be very clear, very clear. As an ex-news reporter, I maintain my independence, and I am an independent voter. I have to tell you, I was absolutely, utterly appalled at what I was seeing since Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I guess it's Friday now when we finally have a second press conference when, in fact, President Biden is going ahead and saying, Oh, there's no problem with the Taliban. The Taliban are allowing everybody into the airport. That's unadulterated baloney. They're not. People are screaming to get out of there. Our Afghan interpreters and the people who helped this country, they have been left basically on their own. And I just cannot believe it. I can't. This is his Bay of Pigs. Absolutely his Bay of Pigs.
Okay,
I,
now,
I'm just,
now,
I am
now,
beyond,
now if you can let me
furious.
continue what I started.
Go ahead.
I mean, basically, as far as I have read it or heard it, there was an agreement between Trump, I'm not blaming, but it was an agreement between Trump and the Taliban, was that the Taliban would not attack US troops if we agreed to leave. And this was the agreement that they were on. So as far as from what I understand, if we didn't leave, there would be, that would start the conflict. So we would have to add more troops
So
in.
let me figure this out, okay?
Yeah.
Now, normally you would probably see, he's had since, I believe, April. In fact, on Facebook, I was corrected by an individual who said, actually, the Biden administration has had, and the Trump administration has had approximately 10 months to get this taken care of. Be that as it may, President Biden's been in office for 7 months. So let's assume he's had at least 7 months to be able to get this taken care of. Now, wouldn't you see maybe get the civilians out, get the staff people out? Then maybe the next thing you might get out would be the equipment, the arms, the rifles, the Tomahawk air, helicopters, wouldn't you think? And then maybe the last thing to go would be the troops. Now, I am not a military expert, but I think that that's kind of common sense stuff. And then what we hear from Biden when he decides to come back from vacation, Camp David, is, well, blah, 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 blah. I was insulted as an American, and I would certainly hope you would be insulted as an American as well. We have lost credibility with our allies. When you have the British Parliament talking about condemnation of Biden, that's never happened before. He hadn't even called anyone much. He hadn't. The first person he finally decided to call was Boris Johnson in the UK. And then I guess he called Angela Merkel. And then he called Macron. Well, guess what? We had a press conference with all of our Pentagon people, and they said, well, we may or may not be able to get our Americans out. What the devil is that all about? It's just beyond me, absolutely beyond me. What the hell is going on, Malcolm? Why in the world couldn't the Democrats find some decent people to get into office? If you guys wanted, if the Democrats wanted to have power, why didn't you have some decent people? And you have complete idiots here. And they have endangered our country. Don't think that Afghanistan is now going to be a hotbed for terrorists. That's exactly where ISIS came from. And ISIS, you think that they're not going to be friends now with the Taliban. Oh, yes, they will be.
Yeah,
so they are now endangering us here in America.
Okay, first of all, I agree with you. It's a whole debacle. That things should have been planned in a much better way. I agree with you that when he did the news conference today, or the parts that I saw, and they said, "Oh, people could get out." I don't know who he's been speaking to. It's it's
himself. I guess he's been speaking to himself.
It's a complete mess. Now, as far as the Taliban taking over Afghanistan, it was going to. I mean, there was no doubt about it that the Taliban was going to control Afghanistan. He did not, when he withdrew the troops, it did not change that. They were going to control it anyway.
I made a post a couple of minutes ago on Facebook prior to this latest press conference by our dear president. And I had suggested at the time, and I know I went out on a limb saying, you know what, maybe what we should do at this point right now is turn right around and say the Taliban has not honored any of their commitments to make sure that there is safe passage for any of the Americans or our allies or the people who helped. Maybe we should put in some troops. We started with 2,500. He had to go ahead and increase it to 7,000. Hell, increase it to 100,000 people to get those people out. You cannot leave people that helped America and Americans. You cannot leave them for the barbarians that the Taliban are. You cannot do that.
I'm in agreement with you, but I don't know. I think it still has to be negotiated. I don't think we can say they're not abiding. It's been 7 days.
They're not, wait a minute. You're telling me they're abiding? They're not letting people through. They're knocking on doors, according to stuff that's getting through on the internet. They're knocking on doors and they're trying to find Afghans who have assisted the Americans and the Allies. And what are they doing?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Slaughtering them.
I don't know if the agreement was that they
what, not to slaughter.
No,
don't slaughter.
No, that they wouldn't attack the Afghans that helped us. The agreement was they wouldn't attack Americans, the American troops, which they haven't.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, we're splitting hairs here, because the bottom line is it was a complete, absolute debacle. And I cannot believe I have not heard any criticism from the Democrats. What the devil is going on?
Well, I don't know. I haven't, that they haven't chimed in yet, but you will. I guarantee you.
Well, let's see, how many days? You know what? We had ABC, George Stephanopoulos, asking tough questions, and Biden really got upset with some of those tough questions. And in fact, this last press conference that our dear president had, there was a question that was being asked specifically as to why wasn't this pre-planned? Why did you cut and run as quickly as you did? And what did he do? He decided to cut and run. He turned away, walked off. He spoke for 10 minutes on the speech, and then he answered questions, pre-done questions, for 18 minutes. And that's it.
I didn't see.
What the hell is going on?
So what would you suggest that we do?
What would I suggest? I suggest that we end up getting some courage. We end up being Americans and not just at this point right now being politicians. I think it's time for all of us to be able to take things on back. I don't know what's going on with Biden. I don't know. And I certainly don't know what's going on with Vice President Harris. But this whole situation has undermined American integrity and our ability to be able to be a world leader. And you talked about being a world leader, especially with climate. We're not a world leader anymore. We are the laughing stock.
Deborah, listen for a minute. Okay. Now, I think it was inevitable that the Taliban would take over Afghanistan once we leave, no matter how we left. Take it for that. That would be granted. That was granted by the previous administration. That was the agreement that it was made. I agree with you that it wasn't, that it wasn't done the right way, and there should be a better way of doing it. But I think the inevitable outcome, once everybody's out, once the Americans out, once you take the Afghanis out that helped us, that the Taliban would take over Afghanistan. I mean, I don't think there was any question about that. I don't think we could send in 100,000 troops or 200,000 troops and occupy the country. We couldn't do that with Iraq. We couldn't change a type of government. There's a certain type of society each of them have, that's the way they live. So that eventually the Taliban would take over Afghanistan. How we monitor the ISIS, I mean, they have gone to other countries. The problems that we have, for whatever reason, our intelligence sucked. Our State Department sucked.
Somebody needs to be losing their bureaucratic pensions in their job.
Right, but that's been out. What I'd like to say, I know that I'm not blaming anyone, but I know that the State Department was weakened by the aforementioned.
Don't get started with the situation with Trump.
Okay.
Baloney. Because I got to tell you, if you hated Trump, this is what you ended up getting. This is the result of hating Trump. You know what? He had an abrasive personality. Fine. But you know what? He got things done.
I don't want to go there. I just want
this kind of I
don't want to go
President Trump.
I don't want to go in general. I don't want to generalize the situation. What would you have done in Afghanistan?
What would I have done in Afghanistan? Right. Number one, I would have gotten the civilians and the staff out. Right. Number one, I had 4 to 10 months to get them out. I would have done it very quickly and very quietly. Okay. And the next thing I would have done is make sure that none of the equipment was going to be used now by the Taliban. pretty easy stuff. In fact, let me give you a figure here. There is apparently, according to the State Department, $85 billion worth of advanced communications, warplanes, drones, and various weaponry. So I probably would have gotten that out. Okay. The next thing I probably would have done was then at that point bomb the holy hell out of any of the forts that we had, any of the structures that we had that was used as part of the military operation there. And then I would have gotten the troops out.
Okay. First point you made. The Afghan army, I think they said, was 186,000 strong. They had the equipment, right? Now you said that you would take all that equipment out. So in other words, what you would have done for the Afghan army, which supported the government, you would have stripped them from all their weapons, right?
I would have gotten the civilians out at this point.
Okay, no, wait. I want to go point to point. I don't want to.
Go ahead.
Go. The Afghan army is the ones who controlled all these weapons, right? All the things.
No, I mean, I saw stockpiles of weapons that the Taliban was showing, factories filled, warehouses filled with this stuff. We left helicopters, advanced communication, drones.
But this was all to be used by the army of Afghanistan.
Not exactly.
Because the things that you see all the major weapons that the army gave up, no one expected the army
yes, they did. There was an email that just was revealed first part of January after dear President Biden had said, no, there's no way that Kabul and the Afghan government is going to fail quickly. No, what happened was an email that was sent to Secretary Blinken, and they said, sorry, these people are not prepared to be able to take full control over their government. Funny thing, why didn't Secretary Blinken inform President Biden? And if in fact he did inform President Biden, then why did President Biden decide not to take that advice from people on the ground?
As far as I know, that letter or that the email was in July. I don't know if Blinken was Secretary of State in January.
No, July. It's when it happened.
It was
in July.
Yeah, you had mentioned January.
6 weeks ago.
In July. Right. I heard that also. That was just news to me today.
Yeah.
But I have the question. Okay, so you would have stripped all the U.S. equipment from
the equipment that is there, Malcolm, was in excess of the equipment that was currently being utilized by the Afghans.
Okay, so
you do not have $83 billion worth of equipment being used by the Afghan army. They don't have enough people in the army.
They have 186. They have 186,000 soldiers. They have more soldiers than the Taliban.
They couldn't have utilized $83 billion worth of equipment.
Listen,
that's illogical.
The way the Defense Department works, $86 billion worth of equipment, if it was really how much the equipment is worth, it was probably $1.5 million. You saw how expensive it is to build one thing.
But then once again, I want to go back to the whole issue. Why do we decide to pull the troops out first and then get the civilians out?
I agree.
Why?
I agree with you. I don't know.
So what are we going to do to be able to get this situation rectified?
You tell me.
I told you. We need to go in. We need to get our people out. And yet at this point right now, they're saying, well, we may or may not be able to get our people out, blah, 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 blah. They essentially said they don't even know how many people are there in Afghanistan. Oh, baloney. They know exactly. You have a passport.
Again, a problem is for the last, I don't know how many years, that whole situation in Afghanistan has been screwed. Nobody knew what was happening. Now, as far as I know, the military or the military people I've heard both sides, by the way. I do listen to Fox and I
listen to CNN and I listen to MSNBC.
And according to the people I've heard on, but both also on Fox and MSNBC, the military did not believe that the army would collapse as fast. They didn't believe that the Afghan soldiers would just give up the weapons. And from what
weren't the Afghan soldiers being paid X number of dollars to fight?
Yeah.
Wasn't it true that President Biden stopped those payments to the Afghan soldiers?
I'm not sure.
So why in the world would you fight if you were not going to be paid?
Because it's your country.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I've also heard where the government itself was very corrupt, and that even though they had the weapons and they had the military strength, it wasn't necessarily given to the troops.
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, I love that argument. There's only one slight problem. We had peace. We did not have a single murder of an American soldier for, I believe it's been 18 months approximately. And that's with a force of 2,500 American soldiers. So why would we go ahead and pull that last group of soldiers out? We have thousands of soldiers in Germany, in Japan, in South Korea. We have standing armies that are keeping the peace. And I'm not understanding what logic there was to pull those last 2,500 when in fact, we were seeing success over an 18-month period.
Okay, but you failed to listen to what I said when we initially started this. It was an agreement that Trump made.
No. I'm sorry, I cannot accept that. Biden has thrown out every single.
No way. Biden has thrown out every. Not every.
So he kept this one.
He kept this thing because it wasn't between him and him. It wasn't that he could get rid of it. If he did it, it would be against what they told the Taliban, and the Taliban would start military action.
Right.
And we only had 25,000. We had 2,500 troops. That is nothing in comparison to what the Taliban would have. We had peace because it was agreement that the Taliban would not kill American soldiers if America pulled out of Afghanistan. So are you folks,
are the Democrats proud of what's happened in the last 4 to 5 days?
I just told you I'm not.
Well, then why are we not hearing some of the Democratic lawmakers? And in fact,
I have no idea.
Who are most at risk are the women and the girls. Women and girls.
But that would have been no matter what happened, no matter how he pulled out.
You just threw your hands up. You can't throw your hands up. We've been in there for 20 years. There should have been a succession. There should have been a situation where we should have kept the 2,500. 2,500 service people were keeping the peace.
Didn't you hear what I just said?
Yes, I did.
I said the Taliban would have attacked the American soldiers if they were not pulled out. They were not attacked because it was an agreement. So the agreement had to be.
So you're saying that this whole thing was inevitable?
No, yes, I'm saying the thing that screwed up is not that we pulled out the way we did. That I have questions of. That's the thing that we are in agreement. I'm saying that we could not have gone into Afghanistan and changed the whole damn thing. It's the same way we went into Iraq. We couldn't change the whole thing.
Well, we went in to get rid of ISIS after 9/11,
and we got
coming to the 20th anniversary.
And we did, and we achieved it. But we cannot change a government. We cannot change the people. Now the ISIS is in Africa. It's in different places. It's not that it's all gone. They are in different areas.
And now they have the opportunity of going back to Afghanistan,
right?
And managing to have a central location.
But it would always be done. It was inevitable that the Taliban would come out. We cannot change governments and make people want democracy.
Well, I'm not talking about changing governments. I'm talking about protecting ourselves and making sure that there is not a terrorist state.
Right. But everyone was in agreement that we should take the American troops out. The question was not whether we take the American troops out. Let's get to the point. Not that we would take American troops out, but how we did it. That's my thing. That's where I'm, I disagree with the president. I disagree with what he said. And I don't know why the hell he said it.
And why did he do it?
I don't know. He hasn't called up. If he calls up the show, I'll find out.
No, I mean, seriously, why was this done? And if in fact his advisors had said, don't do it, Why did he do it?
I
If his
don't, I
advisor
don't
said,
know.
don't do it,
I don't know all of his advisors said, don't do it. I don't know where you've heard that from. It's a lot of advisors said,
I'm
do
just
it.
doing hypotheticals at this
Oh,
point right now, because I have to
hypothetical.
tell you, we don't have much information. We are in a tremendous amount of trouble at this point right now. And I have to tell you, I do not understand. I mean, I understand we have Republicans and there's the Democrats. Why in the world couldn't the Democrats come up with a good candidate who actually, because we're looking at an individual that has difficulty, and I bless his soul, bless his heart. He has difficulty stringing words together. He has cognitive problems. And in fact, he avoided, unlike the prior administration and prior administrations to the last administration, a cognitive test. I feel sorry for him, but I feel more sorry, Malcolm, for us. More sorry.
Well, again, we're missing the issue. What would we do? What would you do? If you would occupy Afghanistan and fight the Taliban?
No, what I would do at this point, right, if I were president, I would have gone on and said, the Taliban have violated the agreement, which was to not hurt innocents. In fact, they have harmed innocents. I would have put a massive group of troops on the ground for a minimal period of time to manage to have safe passage for all of the Americans and all of the Afghans that helped America. I would have made sure that the French, that the Germans, and all of our allies, they got all of those people out. And when it was finally done, fine, you could go ahead and have it. But at this point right now, abandoning these people don't have weapons. They have no way of protecting themselves.
Well,
and then you have the State Department, let me finish. You have the State Department that has a bureaucracy that is checking paperwork, okay? It's taking 2 to 3 weeks for paperwork to go on through. I mean, this is just absolutely, completely astonishing to
well,
me.
Deborah, it has taken 3, 4, 5 years for paperwork to go through. It's not only that people have applied for paper, people wanted to get out during the Biden administration. People have wanted to get out, 4 or 5 years that people have done people.
I'm talking about right now.
I'm not okay. No,
bureaucratic snafu,
yeah.
And they cannot get people. In fact, and the other thing that's just amazing to me, why would they abandon a military air base? Why would they do something like that? Well, what cockamamie idea was that?
They were going to do it anyway. That was all agreed upon.
Why would you then simply go? Why would you go to a commercial airline, an airport in Kabul? We had the military air base. Once again, I don't know who the heck is advising the president, but somebody needs to lose their job. Or maybe what they should do is to put all of these military advisors back in and try and put them back into Kabul and have them try and get through the Taliban's.
I agree with you. It wasn't done in the right way, but it was going to be done. I mean, the whole thing is
it wasn't going to be done this way.
I know we were going to leave. There was no question about it. Why there wasn't
to be done this way?
Why there wasn't a preparation? I don't know. Why the military? Why intelligence didn't know that the army would fold? I don't know. I know that the warlords in each of the individual states that were taken over in the capitals told the soldier, don't fight, give up their arms. Why they did that, I don't know.
We've had 20 years to get this thing figured out.
I know.
And many of these military people have been there for 20 plus years. We're not getting what we're paying for. And we have now endangered our relationship with our allies, endangered our relationship with NATO. We have endangered
I don't think it's, but the question is, I agree with you. I think our foreign policy is a total sucks for the last 20 years.
So what are we going to do about it?
30 years.
What are we going to do about it? Because I have not heard one single criticism from any of the Democratic Party. Nothing.
I haven't heard that much criticism aside from the top Republicans, who are the ones on the going out and criticized. They've criticized the president. But if you listen to Fox It's not for what's happening now. It's in general. Hey, so am I. He's incompetent. He sucked. In fact, when I was listening to Fox the other day, it was so anti-American. It was funny. I
don't know what you're talking about.
I was listening to it.
Fortunately, at this point right
American.
now, at least fortunately at this point right now, at least places like the New York Times, at least individuals and entities like the Washington Post, CNN, are critical of the action. And I would have liked to have heard at this news conference today something more substantial and factually correct. He was talking about today the fact that the Taliban was letting everybody through their checkpoints. That is an unadulterated lie.
I agree with you.
Unadulterated.
I agree with you. I was listening to MSNBC, and they said that. They had the reporter that, I forget the guy's name, who was on the ground.
That's right.
And he said, I don't know what Biden was talking about because I speak to people and they can't get through.
Right.
So I agree with you. But
so then how do we hold people accountable? I'm talking about all the way on up to the top and all the way down to the bottom.
To me, the last 20 years in Afghanistan has been a debacle.
Well, I'm talking about the last 4 days.
I agree with you. So what the question is, what do we do now? I'm giving you, so your answer is to send in the troops.
My answer at this point right now is we literally need to send in far more air power, far more.
I agree.
We need to put in people that can help escort some of these individuals out of the country. We need to cut the paperwork from the State Department to get these people out. They are innocents.
I agree.
So why are we not doing it?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to the president or to the administration.
Have you called your representatives?
Not yet.
Please
do. Have you?
Yes, I have.
And what have you said?
I have said, get this operation back in gear. Protect the innocents, because this is absurd. This is embarrassing, and it's dangerous.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is our Congress on recess now?
No, tell me. I got to tell you.
Why haven't they been called back?
Guess what? The Democrats, you guys hold the Senate. You guys hold the House. So and the other question I have is, why was President Biden on vacation while this whole thing went down?
Well, first of all, which is a misnomer, when he's on vacation, when he's any place, he's right by everything that he can, all the information that he can access is there. It's a working White House wherever he is, and you know that.
Well, he didn't even address the American public until 2 to 3 days later. And then he had an interview with George Stephanopoulos, who of course has been very, very friendly with the Democratic Party, which is fine. He was an assistant to Bill Clinton. And George Stephanopoulos, to his credit, was asking tough questions. And I have to tell you, President Biden was trying the best he possibly could to avoid those questions. I'm very happy to hear.
Actually, I have not seen that.
Oh, you should.
I have not seen the interview.
And he was President Biden was extremely uncomfortable about things. We need a leader. We need someone who is powerful and forceful. We don't need a nice guy. We need.
Well, yeah, but okay. So let's say why did the Republicans nominate Trump? Do you think he was that person?
Well, I have to say, regardless of how you feel about Trump, I don't believe that we would have had this sort of a situation. We did not have a single soldier die in Afghanistan from the time for 18 months. And I have to tell you that I do believe that Trump exuded force. He was strong. You may not have liked him.
No, yeah,
there were times where I would cringe at his tweets. But I also want to bring up the fact, let's go over to the tweets. Why would we allow Twitter to continue Taliban organizational tweets?
I'm talking one specific thing. I don't want to go into generalization.
Go ahead.
The specific thing, he made the deal with the Taliban. And he also said the leader of the Taliban was his friend. He wanted to have a meeting with them, 911. He wanted to have the meeting to make a deal with them. He is the one that dropped the 13,000 troops to 2,500 troops. He made a
And the
deal with them.
2,500 troops were doing just fine.
Yeah, because he made a deal with them that the Taliban would not kill any American soldiers if
Mhm,
we agreed to pull out. That was the agreement. The
mhm.
agreement, if we didn't pull out, they become hostile again. So the question is, I don't think Trump would have been the answer. It might be somebody else. Who else aside, let's say you didn't like Biden. I wouldn't vote for Trump as a substitute. I'd like Biden better than Trump as a leader. But the question is, who in the Republican Party would you say would be a good presidential candidate?
Well, I think at this point right now, I mean, I'm looking at Ron DeSantis. I like the fact that he has been
Ron, oh,
decisive
okay.
in terms of the state. No, 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 no. You can disagree, and I've disagreed with some of the decisions that he's made, but he has led his state and and he has been very,
right,
very
right.
truthful.
His state
I
has the
would
highest
probably
case.
go ahead.
His state has the highest cases of.
His state has the highest cases, my dear, because all of the
Not all of the refugees.
migrants
You
have
can't
been
like,
sent to Florida and to
and not all of
Texas.
and not 100% of the migrants have COVID. And if they did,
No,
and
you're
see,
right. Only 40%
no,
have
it was only
COVID.
20%. But if
40%, according to the
if
CDC this morning, 40%.
but if people would be vaccinated and wear masks, they wouldn't be getting COVID.
No,
Anyway,
not exactly, because they have breakthroughs.
they have breakthroughs, but the
going on.
breakthroughs aren't fatal, and they aren't hospital, and they haven't required hospitalizations. Anyway, Deborah, it's been fun,
It has been fun.
but our half hour is up, and I look forward to your next Facebook, because the Facebook
Well, no,
that
and
I
I hope, Malcolm, that we're in trouble. We're in serious, serious trouble as a nation. And I do hope at this point right now that we can resolve as Americans to come to some decision. You cannot abandon Americans to the Taliban. You cannot abandon these Afghanis who helped us to the Taliban.
I totally agree.
So something needs to be done, and I do hope you're going to be calling your representatives to tell them get off vacation and come back to Washington.
From what I would think, and I wish is done, that there are negotiations being done now. That we're unaware of, that Biden doesn't want to make public. I hope they're talking to the Taliban leaders to make sure that no Americans be killed, and that there be a way through to the airport to be evacuated.
I hope they're getting Navy SEAls in there and getting the people out, because any agreement with the Taliban is completely useless. Get those SEAls in there, get our people out now.
But as soon as Biden was stuck, where it would be damned if he does, damned if he didn't. He was in a situation where if he didn't do anything.
Well, Malcolm,
I agree with you.
It's Biden's blunder. Biden's blunder, and it will be a stain on his presidency, and I'm sorry to say it.
Number one, it was poor planning. Number two, I think just threw over the Congress to the Republicans in 2022, and I don't know about the presidency. We'll see what happens. Anyway, keep up with the news. Keep on sending me the Facebook notices.
I will.
Keep on being angry.
I will, and I hope you get angry as well, because we've got to get this country back.
I don't necessarily get angry. I want to know what to do. I don't want people say, "Oh, this is bad, that's bad." I want to say, "Okay, what do we do to correct it?"
That's what I told you. Send troops in and get our people out.
Because number one, you said send 100,000 troops in. Okay, how many troops you want to send in?
I want to send enough people to get our people out and to get the Afghans out.
And you're willing to risk that that there would be a pitched battle with the Taliban if there was no agreement?
There's going to be a pitched battle anyway, and you know what? I don't want to have unarmed citizens up against the Taliban.
Well, it's unarmed.
I would prefer to have American soldiers up against the Taliban.
And the American soldiers killed.
And this American soldiers would get our people out and get the Afghan helpers out, our teammates.
Okay, and then they would leave.
Of course.
Okay. Anyway, I'll speak to you next week.
Sounds good.
Keep up with the news. Bye.